Yay! Let's look at these graphs. So this first graph is for an object that's moving forward and speeding up. How do we know that? Well, using the information from constant velocity graphs, we know this region is slow. And we also notice that this region has a steeper slope, which means it's going faster. So we go from slow to fast, and that means we're speeding up. And the reason we know that we're moving forwards is that the slope is positive. Remember, positive slope means forwards. Now, how does that play out for a velocity graph? Well, this region is slow, which means that our v is going to be 0 in this flat region here. And in this steeper region, we know that v is going to be greater than 0 because it's going forward and fast. So with that in mind, I'll draw a little dot here to represent 0, and then later on a positive v dot. And then we just basically connect that with a line. And to determine the acceleration graph shape, we note that the slope here is positive. I don't like that color. I'm going to use clover. We note that the slope is positive. There, that's a much better color. And then we get the acceleration graph is positive as well, because we simply use the slope to figure out the acceleration graph. And then similarly for the second graph, I start off steep. That means I start off fast, but I don't stay fast the whole time. My speed levels off to stopped right here. And if you notice, the slope here is positive. So what that tells me is I start off with a v greater than 0, and then I go to a v equaling 0. So the way I draw that on the velocity graph is a positive v, and then a 0 v, and I connect the dots. Similarly to the graph above, I have a negative slope, so I draw a negative acceleration. And then for the last two, a very similar idea. Again, flat means slow. And then I go to the bottom here and I notice how has it changed? It's become negative and faster. And so that tells me that I'm going backwards and speeding up. So I start off at a very slow flat speed. So this is, I'm starting at v equals 0. And then I'm getting a very negative slope, and v must be much less than 0. So I draw that down here and I connect the dots. Again, negative slope means negative acceleration, so I draw that. And here I'm just going to work backwards. I'll say, look, I noticed that I have a positive slope here, so that's why this acceleration graph is positive. And then I'm going to start off with this graph here. Notice my slope is very negative and steep, which means I'm fast and backwards. And then I level off to a slow speed. So I'm going to start at a very fast negative speed, and then I'm going to level off to a flat one, and then I connect those dots. So this is the kind of thing that we're going to be looking at on the appraisals, is determining what kind of motion is happening when I give you graphs. And that's pretty much it for what you'd want to review.